right, welcome and good morning, bright and early to everybody out there. Drop your MCAT and Premed questions here, or visit www.mcatboss.com to work with me on your MCAT. All right, let's go ahead and fire the stream up in the excuse me, on the TikTok side. All right. Hopefully, for those of you who are getting close to MCAT time, you are getting up bright and early, getting used to those wonderful early pre-med / med school hours, and of course studying. That is truly the mode you got to get into. You got to get into the study mode. All right, okay, so looks like we are good to go on the YouTube side. We are not up and running just yet. We're still apparently in verifying mode on the TikTok side. Thank you guys for joining. If you are new here, my name is Matt. I'm a fourth year med student, a few weeks away from finishing the good old MD, and I have been teaching the MCAT for a very long time, over a decade, actually. All right, so there is the wonderful and interesting TikTok stream. All right, it looks like the TikTok stream is ready to go. I tell you what, we're going to try and add a date. April 13, 2026. Let's see if that does anything. Trying to figure out what exactly will get the... Let's see, what exactly will get the, get everything working, because as you guys may know, if you've been following along for a while, we've been dealing with this wonderful, fascinating little hiccup where the app, the live studio for TikTok just decides randomly to stop distributing it. So hopefully it works. All right, MCAT Mastery with the MCAT Boss. Here we go. Hopefully that actually works today, and we have luck with the TikTok and the YouTube side. Wouldn't that be cool for a change? All right, hopefully that works. If you are new here, guys, my name is Matt. I am a fourth year med student and soon to be MD, and we're trying to see if TikTok Live Studio is fixed now so we can take some questions on the wonderful TikTok side and the YouTube side while we're waiting. So if you have not followed previously if you have not followed the Saving Sapiens podcast, for those of you who follow along and don't yet know, the Saving Sapiens podcast is my biomedical podcast where I interview the world's leading scientists and geneticists and doctors and researchers. And I would love to have you guys jump on over and hear a few episodes. We're about to launch into season 3 any day now. We're about to launch into season 3. And the season three kickoff is going to be with a really fascinating doctor who started a company called Fauna Bio. It's super interesting, and where they research the evolutionary adaptations of different mammals, and they figure out how to make medications for humans off of those adaptations. It's really interesting. All right, so here we go. Let's see. Ask your MCAT questions here or talk about getting into medical school, med school apps, and more. Feel free to drop those questions in. While we are waiting on a few people to come in, I think what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we will get through a few practice. I tell you what, are we going to do practice questions here? We'll do Q&As. I think today we'll probably do some Q&As instead of some practice questions. But thank you guys. We've had a lot of interactions lately on the practice questions. Once summer gets here, we're probably going to start doing a new series of practice questions that are actually based on the MCAT bootcamp question. So if you guys are not familiar with that, that is the bootcamp MCAT program is the question bank from bootcamp.com, and pretty soon we are going to so we officially have a partnership with Bootcamp MCAT. Over on the YouTube side, somebody says Andrew Garfield. That is back in the day when Andrew Garfield was still, rocking and rolling with the Spider-Man movies. That was a rather comical, constant comment from the young folks at coffee shops and things like that. But not so much anymore. He's off to some other roles in movies nowadays. But all right. So on the TikTok side, we have somebody asking, what did you make on the MCAT? So a great question. I scored in the 97th percentile when I took my MCAT. Now, mind you, I took the MCAT before it changed and added the psych section. But to give you an idea, I had 100th percentile on the physics and chemistry section and 100th percentile on the car section and 97th percentile overall. I did not have to take it with the psych section. So I actually had to learn the psych and sociology section separately because I was a senior level MCAT coach, tutor, and advisor for one of the big MCAT companies at the time that the MCAT switched over. And Adrian says, what is the MCAT? So the MCAT is the medical college admissions test, and it is the main, I would say it's the main barrier to entry for a lot of people who want to become doctors. And so it's kind of the hoop that you have to jump through if you want to become if you want to become a doctor, the biggest hoop that you have to jump through, aside from the prerequisites and things like that, the classes that you have to take and the applications that you have to submit and the interviews that you have to do, the biggest thing you have to keep in mind is the MCAT, because it is a weird exam. It's about 8 hours long and 7 hours long. It's a full day exam, and unfortunately, it is a really weird mix of a bunch of different sciences that don't have a lot to do with actual medicine. So I think that if you randomly asked a whole bunch of people on the street, Chad says, I have an internal medicine exam the next 2 days and endocrinology. Chad, thank you. A medical student. Wonderful. Very cool. Okay, Chad, if you have, I'm guessing, the main thing I'm guessing, Chad, from your comment on the YouTube side that you, if you have an internal medicine exam, I am guessing that you're referring to your shelf exam. If that is the case, then first of all, congratulations. You're very far down the journey. That is wonderful to hear. Congrats to anybody and everybody who, is at that point in the journey. That is absolutely wonderful to hear. Number two, if you are taking the internal medicine shelf exam and you're already a med student, the main thing to keep in mind with internal medicine is that it is a very, very broad exam. It is sometimes useful to think of high yield content when you are studying for some shelf exams. Like if you are studying for the neurology shelf exam, you might think a lot about things like autoimmune diseases. If you might think a lot about stroke-related diseases, like what are the primary infarcts and what regions. You might think a lot about spinal tracts. With internal medicine, it is a really, really broad exam. And so when you are blitzing through practice problems and you feel like there are a lot of really random diseases, random diagnostics, random imaging criteria, they're not random. You really, truly need to know all of those. So please, 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 really dial in. It's a pretty broad exam, so it's worth really dialing in on the details. Congrats again. Good luck with your shelf exam. All right, on the TikTok side, and guys, do drop those questions. We're only going to be on probably around 15 to 20 minutes today. So drop those questions as quickly as you can. Let's see here. Next one on the TikTok side says from DJ Bussanot says, what's the percentage of each topic on the MCAT? All right, so the MCAT is divided into 4 sections. It's physics and chemistry, CARS, which is your reading comprehension. It's the bio and biochem, and it is the psychology and sociology. So generally speaking, it's broken up into those 4 areas. Now, within that area, within those individual topic areas, if you're looking for a specific really drilled down subset of like how much percentage of each subtopic there are, I encourage you to Google a really simple term. Just Google what's on the MCAT PDF, and you will pull up what I think is probably the most important and most under discovered just document in general, and that is the what's on the MCAT PDF from the AAMC. And if you open up the actual PDF form, it will tell you the exact percentages of each subtopic. So I highly recommend doing that. Mind you, it might not be super useful. There's not a whole lot of like knowledge you're going to gain from knowing about those specific subtopic percentages, with one exception, and that is you might discover that a topic you think is super important is less important than you think. And the main reason that I'm going to tell you that is organic chemistry is probably the single biggest overestimated topic area, where students feel like because organic chemistry is this very challenging, let's say unpopular topic area, a lot of people don't like organic chemistry, freak out, and then spend a ton of time learning organic chemistry and less time learning something like physics. And I think that's unfortunate, because physics is a huge portion of the MCAT and organic chemistry is a very small portion of the MCAT. So just keep that in mind. All right, next question says, from Dulcimere Darling says, I finished my undergraduate online. Does it matter to med school admissions? I would love to hear what you mean by you finished it online, because I'm not entirely sure I understand what you're saying. If you finished sort of your like upper class stuff online and you got it from a real university, I wouldn't be super concerned about that. If, on the other hand, you did all of your science courses online instead of with a laboratory section, that would be a problem, because most medical schools do require you to actually have a laboratory section for your prerequisite sciences that include labs. So things like general chemistry and organic chemistry, you are required to do with a lab. So keep in mind. All right. Let me switch over for 1 second to the YouTube side. And we have a question that says, when someone can't breathe and you have to put a tube into their throat. This is a question that somebody's asking about doing a trach, and we're not going to discuss actual medical procedures on this. We are discussing medical admissions, but it's an interesting procedure. I'll say that. And Chad, I'm sorry I missed your other question. If you are still there, I will try to answer it real quick. You said the exam is in 2 days, one short answer exam. It's 17 lectures, and the next day in OSCE, and I've read 4 lectures, only half today and tomorrow. Can I make it? So if you're feeling the overwhelm of the combination of OSCE prep and preparing for NBME shelf exams, all I can say is keep your head up and don't give up, because it is, of course, a very challenging mix to be doing hospital wards and studying for shelf exams and studying for your OSCEs, which of course are the structured clinical exams. So guys, this is what you have to look forward to if you are planning on entering medical school. This is the wonderful mix of things that you have to look forward to. Let me check the questions on the other side here for one quick second, and give me 1 second to refresh my question list over here, guys. Switch over here. And almost back there. Okay. And I think we're caught up on the YouTube side. And let me check on the TikTok side. Okay, so on the TikTok side, we have another question from Dulcimere. Says, can I get free MCAT study material and get a 510 score? That is a great question. I think so. I think in terms of the questions about how, I guess, kind of how far can a person go just on how far can a person go just on free material? I think the big thing that you're going to run into is that there really truly is a limit to how much free material there is out there. The quality question banks for the MCAT, things like UWorlds, things like Bootcamp MCAT, are very, very work intensive. And for that reason, they are things that you end up paying for, right? And now, not necessarily paying a lot. Like, if you go to one of the classical MCAT companies like Kaplan or Princeton Review, you can very easily spend $5,000 to $15,000 working with their MCAT courses. If you go to somewhere like UWorld, you'll spend maybe $300 or $400 if you just do the QBank. Don't worry about the courses, but doing the QBank. And if you go to Bootcamp, you guys, if you're looking for like the cheapest option available, you can actually go to tinyurl.com/MCATboss and enter MCATboss in the discount code, and you can for under a couple of $100, you can actually get access to the Bootcamp MCAT question bank and at least get through several hundred questions, right? Get through a few hundred questions, get used to the format of the MCAT, and work with a question bank like UWorld or like Bootcamp, where we're working really, really hard. And the disclaimer I will tell you guys is I'm a huge fan of UWorld. I've used all of their products. I've met their, remotely met their some of their upper level people in their MCAT and their HR department. And I think UWorld is a wonderful company. I think their MCAT QBank is probably one of the best things you can do. And then the other disclaimer is that, bootcamp.com, their MCAT program is something that I'm actually actively and proudly involved in building. I help write explanations for them because I think explaining the material as you do one problem at a time in those question banks is one of the most effective ways to learn and to get close to a 100th percentile MCAT score. That is how you get a really good grasp on what you're doing wrong and what you need to learn. And I think it's a really great way to get familiar with both the actual MCAT content, like what are the science facts you need to know, as well as the actual process of solving the problems. And so when I'm writing question answers for Bootcamp MCAT, I'm constantly thinking, if I were the student and I missed this problem, what would I want to understand about how to solve this? I hope that is kind of a helpful answer to you guys. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. I see a few of you guys here. If you can let me know whether you are pre-med or med students, or if you're kind of earlier or later in the journey, I love to kind of have an idea of where everybody is in the journey to becoming a doctor. For those of you guys who are new here, my name is Matt. I'm a 4th year med student, a couple weeks away from becoming a doctor, and I have been teaching the MCAT for over 10 years. And I'm the creator of MCATboss.com, so I'm used to kind of tackling the way everybody studies for the MCAT and helping people find the best route possible. Dina says, my son is pre-med and has questions where to start for the MCAT. Dina, please feel free to connect your son with MCATboss.com, connect him to the account here. Any of those are more than welcome. Somebody says, why are we so close? I am happy to have the camera farther away. The weird thing that I have found is that anytime I am more zoomed out, the TikTok live studio tells me that I'm playing pre-recorded content. I have no clue why it says that, but every single time I have ever had the camera more zoomed out, it always flags this stream as pre-recorded content, and I don't know why. And for some bizarre reason, the only way that I have figured out how to not have it have TikTok Live Studio tell me that I'm doing pre-recorded content is to I'm so sorry. On the YouTube side, Chad says I'll try my best, and good luck, man. Good luck finishing your internal medicine rotation. That is awesome. Congratulations. That's a huge deal. Please knock it out of the park, and congrats on getting this far along. Okay. So back to the TikTok side, Dina, real quick, if your son is looking at figuring out kind of how to get started on the MCAT study routine, the first and most important thing he needs to get started on is just getting a good question bank. The one that I'm helping write is the bootcamp.com MCAT question bank. The one that I would say is probably most popular right now is the UWorld question bank, and they're both great resources. If he is ready for a smaller question bank, Bootcamp MCAT is where I would go. Enter MCAT Boss as your discount code, and then if you are specifically looking to do like a really deep dive, if he wants to really get into an MCAT question bank with more than 3,000 problems, if you're a gunner, I recommend the UWorld MCAT question bank. Just Google UWorld MCAT question bank, okay? All right. I hope that helps. Let me see where we are on the questions. Next one is Dulcimere says, I'm currently a registered respiratory therapist, 34 years old, thinking of going to med school. Hey, that is great. I am a huge fan of students who are non-traditional switching over. So I am almost 40. I will be becoming a doctor right before becoming 40. And so I am all about non-traditional students making a career pivot if it is something that you feel like you really truly want to do, because it is a long journey. That's kind of the big thing that I will honestly always emphasize to my non-traditional students. If you really want to make a career change, yay. PS2 says non-trad student here too. Wonderful. I really truly am an enormous fan of non-traditionals. If I can do anything to help push non-traditional students, at some point, if I can grow the MCAT Boss on social media enough, I would like to actually create sort of a coaching cohort of non-traditional students, because I think that we bring something I think that we bring something that is really, really different from what a lot of people bring. And it's no diss on my classmates who are just extraordinarily, on the verge of becoming doctors when they're 22 or 23. I think that is wonderful, and more power to the early achievers. But for those of us who are doing a career pivot and then graduating from med school in our late 30s or in our 40s, I think it's a really cool thing, because we bring life experience and perspective and just kind of a maturity that is not something you can gain outside of just having lived and survived life. And so I think that that's a really big thing to think about. Dina says, this is actually what my son did right before his 4th year. He's 23. That is awesome. Yeah. So I did I did not even do a traditional pre-med degree. I did something completely different and then pivoted afterwards and had to go back and take a bunch of classes. So it's doable. We just gotta think about it. And then MS says, I'm a 33-year-old career changer finishing SMP and applying this summer. Congratulations. That is awesome. Way to go. And then let's see. PSU says, we're deep in the trenches, taking my next full length in a week. Awesome. Very good. Now, when you're thinking, when you're taking your full lengths, just a quick sort of reminder, the time you spend dissecting the results of each full length is as important or more important than actually taking the next full length. I really encourage my students to get into figuring out what each and every separate problem involved when they have taken a full length test before taking the next one. It's not worth taking a practice exam if you haven't yet gone through the previous practice exam with a fine-tooth comb. I am only going to be on here a minute or two longer, guys. So any other questions or comments, make sure that you're following if you are not already following. I'm very excited that this is the first time in a while that the TikTok Studio Live appears to not be crashing for a full live. I think that is awesome. Hopefully that means we have figured that out. I am going to go ahead and wrap things up on the YouTube side. So if you guys are on the YouTube side, make sure give it a like and a follow, and we will see you guys next time. Quick reminder on the YouTube side, MCATboss.com for personal MCAT help or for app review. Do keep in mind, if you guys are watching, and I'm going to wrap it up on